Belgium, the home of Belgian waffles. But never mind that. This is the story of Belgium during World War II. With the German invasion of Poland in September 1939, although still following a policy of neutrality, the Belgian government began a general mobilization. By 1940, the army numbered between 600,000 and 650,000 men, lead 20% of the male population in Belgium, making it approximately 4 times as larger of the British Expeditionary Force and twice as large as the Dutch army at the time. By the invasion of Belgium by Nazi Germany started on May 10, 1940, under the code name of Fall Gelb, as part of the wider invasion of France, the Netherlands, and Luxembourg. With the German breakthrough at Sedan, which had been thought impassable, meant the defenders of the WWII risked being outflanked and had to withdraw on the 16th of May. The German invasion triggered a panic amongst Belgian civilians in the path of advancing German army. By the 11th of May, the roads leading westwards, away from the fighting, were blocked by refugees, hampering the eastward advance of French and British forces. It is estimated around 2 million civilians fled their homes during the campaign. The government's policy of neutrality had left Belgium with an outdated and ill-equipped army and air force. Above all, the army only possessed 16 battle tanks. The military held out against the German forces for 18 days, against overwhelming odds on the 20th of May, forced into a small pocket along the WWII River after failed attempts to broker a ceasefire on the 27th. The Belgian king and military surrendered unconditionally. Some 112,500 French and Belgian troops escaped the UK via Dunkirk. With the surrender of the Belgian army, the government, led by Hubert Pierlet, fled first to Paris to form a government in exile in Bordeaux. After the fall of France, the government transferred to Eaton Square, London. Belgium was run by a German military government under General Alexander von Falkhausen and Edgar Rieder until July 1944, and then by Reichskanzler Joseph Goebbels until liberation. The German government levied the cost of the military occupation on the Belgians through taxes, while also demanding external occupation costs or anti-Bolshevik charge to support operations elsewhere. Belgium was forced to pay nearly 2/3 of national income for these charges, a figure equaling 5.7 billion Reichsmarks. Some groups were very left-wing, like the Communist Partisans armies, but there are also right-wing resistance movements, like the Monarchist National Royalist and the Fascist League in Belgium. There are also other groups like Group G that had no obvious political affiliation. In August 1944, 20 civilians were killed by Rexist parliamentarians in an arrest bill for a single attack on a Rexist politician in the Corkeys massacre. In May 1940, nearly 57,000 Jews were still living in Belgium for a population of roughly 8 million. In May 1942, wearing the Yellow Star of David badge became required for Jews in Belgium. In June 1942, as part of the final solution, Jews living in Belgium were ordered to report to the McKen transit camp. Those who did not were voluntarily rounded up by the police. Between August 1942 and July 1944, a total of 26 railway convoys deported 25,000 Jews and 350 Roma from Belgium to Eastern Europe. Of the 25,000 deported, over 24,000 were killed. Fewer than 1,000 were still alive by the time the Allied forces liberated the camps. Despite Belgium's occupation, the Belgian Congo remained loyal to the government in exile and was put at the disposal of the Allies, making a significant contribution to the Allied war effort. Congolese soldiers, Force Publique, were involved in the fighting of the Italian forces of the East African Campaign, those instrumental to forcing Italian forces out of Abyssinia, suffering 500 casualties. 13,000 Congolese troops served under British command in Nigeria. Detachments of Congolese soldiers also served in the Middle East and Burma. The Congo was vitally important economic asset to the Allied powers. The Congo's gold loan contributed some 28.5 million to the Allied war effort. All exports of rubber and uranium provided sources of raw materials. Most of the uranium were used during the American Manhattan Project that was used for the nuclear weapons on the Japanese of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Belgium was liberated in September 1944 by Allied forces, British, Canadian, and American armies, which also included the Brigade Peregrine. On September 3rd, 1944, the Welsh Guards liberated Brussels. Following a few months of relative calm in Belgium, on 16th of December 1944, the Germans launched the Ardennes offensive with over 250,000 soldiers. Antwerp was the ultimate objective for the German offensive, but the Germans had been stalled before the Meuse River at the Calais near Detente and was pushed back in furious fighting over a period of 6 weeks in bitterly cold weather by American, British, and Belgian troops. Belgian towns and civilians in the Ardennes suffered during the offensives of homes reduced to ruins, and there were instances of German troops shooting civilians. Around 90% of the town La Roche and Ardennes was destroyed during the fighting. By 4th of February 1945, the country was free from German troops. And that was the end